Welcome everyone to another edition of HogvilleNET Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. Sunday, June 7th, tonight, 9 o'clock Central Time. We couldn't hang out that late, wait for this game to play out, and then do a show after. So we'll follow up on tomorrow's show on Monday with the results of U18 Team USA and the FIBA AmeriCup uh, pri- um, Priority Arkansas Target Class of 2027. Looks like he's reclassed into 2026. Looks like Arkansas is about to get his public commitment on Wednesday of this week. So we're 3 days away from that. But tonight, business is at hand on the court. Again, U18 FIBA AmeriCup, Team USA versus Team Canada. This is likely to be the most competitive game for Team USA so far in the AmeriCup. Team USA's 4-0. Again, chance to win the gold medal tonight against Team Canada. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Davion Thompson and what he looks like statistically in this event leading up to tonight's game. We're going to get to that in a little bit. We've been bringing you intel the last several episodes, not only on Thompson, but where things stand with Micah Hanlon. And I now have a source, we mentioned it last night, that calls Arkansas the leader. I refuse to do that for a player who needs a waiver from the NCAA. How can you lead for somebody that doesn't have eligibility? What does that mean? But assuming he gets it, I have a source now. We said it last night that came through and said, look, Arkansas is going to be the leader. What if this guy gets a waiver? Arkansas is in front. That's the team to beat. And then you just see what plays out in terms of, is he ready to, is the next shoe ready to drop, and he makes a quick commitment announcement once the waiver is approved and that becomes public, or is there a little bit of a process and other teams are trying to get in the mix and NIL, and it's a portal big man with a lot of college experience, good experience. I consider him A-list addition, which means other schools outside of Arkansas would as well. And now all of a sudden, it's Calipari back on the clock with NIL decisions and bidding wars potentially, when he typically at some point bows out of those for big men out of the portal. So all those things we talked about, but here's what's interesting. We know Cal had a busy week. Let's get him on the screen here. Monday, early in the week, out to Mexico to see Devion Thompson and some other players for U18 Team USA. We know DeMarcus Henry, the 6'7" wing, who's in class of 2027, top five, top 10 rated 5-star. Arkansas offered him just a couple of weeks ago. We know Malachi Jordan, another wing that Arkansas is recruiting, also a 5-star, also 6'7", also class of 2027. And then there are some other players on Team USA that it wouldn't surprise me if at some point Calipari gets around to potentially offering scholarships. And I think at this point, once you start getting to really lining up visits, those dates will be known publicly. Could be soon, could be a little later, but at minimum in the fall, there's some pockets of time, both in June and July, where you could potentially have visitors on campus. But we may see some more offers go out to the class of 2027. Guys like King Gibson already has one, not playing with U18 Team USA. CJ Rosser, who took part in Pango's camp, we've been talking a little bit about that. Louis Uvo, the freak rim protector, class of 2027, who could reclass of 26, also getting it most outstanding player at Pangos. So a lot to keep our eyes on and what Calipari's doing. But he started out in Mexico on Monday. Then he had his satellite camps in the state through the rest of the week. We talked about that, and being in Benton and then swinging down to Oakland and Hot Springs. We talked about it on last night's episode. And what came out of that for me, was some interesting things from Arkansas staffers who are down there, getting back to me that they're talking about Malik Ewan. If he gets his waiver, they think he's probably Kansas bound. We talked about that. It was weird because I recorded the show, published it last night. We recorded fairly early in the evening. And about an hour or two after that, Calipari puts a tweet out with him and some folks down in Hot Springs. Scott Hamby, someone I know really well, from down there, and a couple other folks while he was at Oakland. So he tweeted out a little message with a photo. Scott Hamby, one of those in there, his brother Banks. They used to have a real cool spot, and for their Hot Springs guys, they had a real cool spot, a house they rented out right across Razorback Road from Reynolds Razorback Stadium back. And I remember going over there pregame and after games after I got my work done. and it was a place that Ryan Mallett used to go hang out at. Just dropping a little info for you. Pretty cool stuff. At their house, that house they had a bunch of Ryan Mallett gear, autographs, and all kinds of things around that house. Again, pretty cool situation. Uh, and may Ryan Mallett, bless his heart, rest in peace. God love him. Great Razorback quarterback, and left us too soon. Okay, so Calipari. The interesting thing, the reason I bring it up, he's been really busy, and I think he's got a few more satellite camps next week. But what's he up to? Because let's just say this: you've got I do my own plane tracking, and here's my plane tracking tonight. The University of Arkansas Razorback Foundation plane in the DFW. Now, let me explain something to you about the current recruiting cycle. This is a quiet period, technically, which means you can only have players on campus for visits. Coaches can't go out and meet with players right now, can't go out and meet with players. And the only reason I show this is because it could be something else, and it could be any other sport or whatever other business the foundation has in the DFW. But if it is Calipari or anyone on his staff, just because they can't meet with players doesn't mean they can't meet with other folks that are built into whatever process is going on with any recruit that Arkansas is after. NIL agents. There's a myriad of things that could be basketball related here, but I just bring you the information because we got a close eye on Calipari right now. We know he's trying to finish out this roster, and we know he's likely to add a commitment again from Davion Thompson on Wednesday. Anyway. That's how it looks for now. But I just find it interesting any chance I get to track that plane, the plane. Some of them are Tyson planes I track. This is the foundation plane. I do it, and so there's just an image of that. We're having fun with it. But what else has been going on? And so I do have some intel for you tonight about so far what it's looked like inside the performance center. I brought you intel a couple of episodes ago that it got back to me from inside the building, that Arkansas really hadn't gotten into limited on court stuff. And Calipari usually waits a couple of weeks. Well, we're embarking on 2 weeks when players formally the roster getting back, and then you had moving in, and then you had some players go back home for a little bit and then come back. The last I heard, Maper Maker still hadn't made it on the campus, but that was 2 or 3 days ago. Maybe he has. But it's interesting because they're doing some stuff. And what I told you a few episodes ago, what I heard is the players were working on individual skill stuff, not just that they were individually working out in the performance center, which they need to do on their own time, but that they were working on some individual skill stuff. And I don't know if that was the NCAA regulated, timed, a coach on the court or someone on the staff involved. I don't know that, or if they were doing that on their own. That's the information we gave you. But we've got more intel tonight on several things from inside the building in terms of who's turning heads. I mean, we've shown you some dunk highlights that Abdu Torre put out of himself and Mika Mirnan and J.J. Andrews and Jeremiah Wilkinson. But there's just a few things to talk about. Let's get the plane tracker stuff off the screen, shall we? But the University of Arkansas formally, officially, I think it was on Saturday, put out this tweet. And there you see J.J. Andrews on the photo on the left. I think that's Abdu Torre and Jeremiah Wilkinson. Looks like they're doing some conditioning stuff. They're in motion. Looks like they're running. Don't know if it's sprint work or what they're doing, but you've got the word work all uppercase and some emojis behind that. And so whatever they're doing inside the building, the university is officially, the basketball program's officially acknowledging that they're already getting to it on on some level. So we're still waiting to find out. I still don't have official word that limited on court stuff has officially started, where you're getting on court instructions. At least a number of coaches are out there with a number of players, and they're going through various things that the NCAA again. You have to account for the time, and so I don't know exactly where it's at with that. I'm assuming some of this might rise to that. But to be where they are now, that means they've gone through their physicals and other testing to be cleared to be on the court. I think the other thing to remember is in year one under Calipari, the limited summer work. Remember, you start out June and July. I think it's about 8 weeks. Whenever you start that clock, you get 4 hours per week on court instruction, and you get 4 hours in strength and conditioning. The rest of it has to be voluntary for players to come in and do stuff on their own, and that's always encouraged, right? But in year one, Calipari used the limited summer work to focus on individual skill and drill work. Kind of what we've heard they've been doing so far. We just don't know if that's gotten into again to the official on court stuff yet. But it's interesting. And so that was year one. There was more retention last year. You had four players coming back, and what Arkansas did was, and we reported you, we're bringing you intel that limited summer stuff was beyond individual development and that kind of thing. They were actually implementing team stuff on both sides of the ball. And it was a little more advanced in terms of how Calipari approached it. So we don't know yet where this is headed. We don't have enough information to say what they're going to be working on. We do know they plan for a summer foreign tour, which changes some calculations because you're trying to get your team ready enough to play games, even though they don't count. You're in a maybe a process that will be a little more sped up for wherever you're playing, whomever you're playing. You will be playing other teams and other, even if you count those as practices in terms of how the coach looks at it, you're competing. And so it might change the dynamic of what you work on early in your limited summer stuff. And then we speculate the tour wouldn't probably start till late July at the soonest, maybe get all of it in August before school lets out and they get a 2 week break and come back. And then they're back to, fall camp at that point. But what's interesting to me is you're also allowed, it used to be I think for a while it was 10 official practices, full practices. Maybe it's as many as 15 when you have a summer foreign tour. You're allowed, the NCAA allows you to go beyond the limited scope, which is 4 hours on court per week, and you get to ramp it up and do a normal practice like you will in the fall once you start getting into September and October. And so that's also a different dynamic. And for a young team with only one true retention piece from last year's rotation, and Billy Richmond III, these games and these extra practices, full practices, will be valuable. I think everything they do in there matters right now. So it's all speculative right now in terms of what exactly is this team going to be gearing into, and we'll get feedback on that, and we'll follow up and tell you what we're hearing. But we're going to tell you more about individuals right now. Here's the intel for you that you haven't heard yet. And again, we've talked about it from our what we saw in like the little dunk highlights and all this, but what's been noticed and getting back to me just in terms of talking points about individual players, basically they haven't seen a whole lot other than a few things. And the idea that guys like Abdou Toure, Jordan Smith Jr., JJ Andrews, and even Jeremiah Wilkinson at 6'1", who we've said is strong at 6'1", very bouncy and athletic, but all four of those guys, physically and athletically, very impressive, is what's coming back to me from inside the door. So it's something where you could say, well, we already knew that, didn't we? Yeah, but when you start seeing players on a daily basis and you've got basketball heads in the building and they're starting to notice things, it may be even more pronounced than you suspected because just like me or Calipari, you get to see these guys through the previous years. You're recruiting them. I'm out and about. I'm on site for so many things, but I don't see them every day. And once you get folks and you get around them every day, things start to stand out. And so I think that's what the takeaway is here. Just that group of four has been very impressive physically, athletically, and what they've gleaned. And you remember Arkansas with its shortcomings last year defensively, post defense, perimeter defense, some of those things. We think this team will be better in those areas. But one way to help sell the idea that that's going to happen is physically and athletically imposing. And so even backcourt and wing, you're seeing some of that. Carter Knox was put together. He was a good defender, but he missed half the season. Billy Richmond III was your best defender, all SEC defensive team, but it wasn't enough. And so we've said Jordan Smith Jr., Abdou Toure, J.J. Andrews, and even some degree Jeremiah Wilkinson. This guy was one of the steal leaders in college basketball in the SEC last year. And so to hear these things already is promising. Now, once they get on the court and start doing real team stuff, and we'll see how it gels together in actual full basketball, things that will develop and become known. But for now, you like to hear what you hear. The other things I've heard, Cooper Bowser and Paulo Somito are strong, physically, noticeably stronger, bigger in their upper bodies and certain parts of their frame, which is what you absolutely want to hear when we know that these guys are anywhere between 6'11" and 7'1", and their weights, while they're not necessarily just way under what you would want for a SEC frontline guy, they're still not that big space eating girth player either yet, if ever. right? We've talked about that. So the bigger and stronger these guys get, the better. And so we don't know how Paulo Samito, if and how he'll factor into a top two rotation. But if you're trying to determine those things and you're trying to see what the development is, part of that's physical because he's got athleticism. He's got some skill and other things at 7'1". Uh, and the coaching staff will determine if and when he can help them this year and in year two after redshirting, but missing months because of injury last year. So development slow, the clock on that slower than they wanted. But we'll see. But at least it's a start to say, hey, these guys look more physically imposing. A year in the weight and conditioning program, you hope that's the case. But I'm hearing fit from a physical standpoint. We told you Cooper Bowser, that 215 he was listed at last season at Furman was not correct. He told us in that interview that you all saw. If you didn't, go check it out. You can find it on this HogvilleNET Hoops YouTube channel. That he played last season. I think he said between 220 and 225. And when he got to Fayetteville for his official visit in early April and committed the following day, in on a Monday, committed on a Tuesday, they weighed him. He was 229, so 230. Maybe there's a world where he gets, he's been in the gym. Even when he was been back in the DMV, came to campus, went back for a few days, and then came back. Even then, he was in the gym every day, working out at the same training facility that Jordan Smith Jr. works out at in the DMV. They're both from there. They knew each other prior to landing at Arkansas together for this next roster. But I'm told that I mean, if he can play between 230 and 235, that's certainly more than you thought you were getting when he was first added and you saw that sticker shock on that 215 pounds. Remember, he's 6'11 with a 7'5 wingspan and led the country in dunks per game last year, Division I level at Furman, and Arkansas led the nation as a team in dunks. So you like to hear that some of these frontline guys are bigger than advertised. When we saw Mika Mirnan at Nike Hoop Summit and went through that process and saw him in that All Star game, he was noticeably more filled out. And he measured 7 feet in shoes, 7'2" plus wingspan, so a plus wingspan, and 223. I have no doubt that they're going to get him somewhere between 225 and 230 at minimum, and ready for this next season. And so some of that's very promising. The other thing we kept combating coming from our NBA scouts that were telling us, seeing him every day with the World Select team and other things they were getting, is that this guy's not a problem. There's no off the court crap going on. He's a model citizen. Guess what? Since he's been in Arkansas, that's the other thing coming out of the building is there are no issues there. And what did we tell you? What was the intel we told you coming from the staff? Just a few weeks ago, I said the staff thinks that stuff's overblown. The NBA scout said they didn't doubt that some of that stuff was real, but what they saw, that wasn't anything playing into his maturity. What they saw recently, again at Nike Hoop Summit up in Portland, but the staff, and it getting back to me, and some things they shared with me is they have full belief in this guy, and that they're going to be able to get him ready. That'll proof will be in the pudding, but that's why they pursued him so strongly. And North Carolina did until they dipped out late when they realized Arkansas was going to be the play. And so Mika Murinen, everything is positive in terms of how he's conducting himself, how he's taken the assignment of being in the performance center to get better, whatever else is expected. You know, uh, Summer session, these guys, that's what they do. They get into summer session, get started working on the academics, build up the credits so that Arkansas and they can stay in compliance and be on track for whatever degree. I mean, a lot of these guys will try to be one and dones or go to the pros, if not after one season, two. But eventually, a lot of them go ahead and finish their degrees. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but academics, if you're in school, you cannot be participating unless you're in school. That's a part of it. And so everything I'm told is Mika Murin's taking care of business. And again, he's more physically impressive than we thought he would be. But we've been seeing that for weeks. So a lot of good stuff coming out about these guys. I really haven't heard anything. I'm going to follow up on Isaiah Seeley just to see, because I wasn't getting word back. Not that that's necessarily a negative thing. Just specifically, I need to ask about him. Did Maker make it onto campus yet? Do they have another timeline for him? Of course, Davion Thompson. The expectation is he commits on Wednesday. announces formally, I guess, when he makes that public. He's already committed privately, makes it public, announces class of 2026. And then you have to assume the plan for him is to get him in time for at least summer session two, and be part of the team and be ready and help the team when it goes and has the foreign tour. I think that's what the plan will be. It's all of this is interesting. And just one video, one more time of uh, Mika Miernan, Abdu Torre, JJ Andrews, and Jeremiah Wilkinson dunking inside the Performance Center just a few days ago. It's good stuff. You could watch that over and over again. I love stuff like that. All right, real quick before we get out of here, Davion Thompson, been talking about it. Up, whoop. What have I done? I've already got my stuff out of order. I don't like it when I do that. Now I got to put glasses on and find it. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. Well, I've lost part of what I thought I brought in his stats. I've got them memorized. All right, so I don't see. Yeah, I screwed this up. Maybe this is it. There we go. I got him. Boy, I got him. I just screwed that up though. So my apologies for that. Yeah, I get frustrated with myself when I have an order of things and then I misplace one thing and it seems like every show. And so I put glasses on, lean in and squint and try to correct my mishap. All right, through Team USA's 4-0 run this week at U18 FIBA Americup. I tweeted this out earlier in Mexico. 27 Arkansas target and five-star guard Davion Thompson averaging 11 points. That ranks 12th through the whole field of FIBA Americup down there. He ranks 12th in scoring at 11 points per game. 3.8 assists, ranked sixth, though he's close to cracking the top five there. An assist, 2.3 rebounds, one steal, shooting 57.7% from the field. Now he missed his two 3-point attempts in the semifinal win over Brazil yesterday. Because he's got a small sample size and not taking a ton of threes, it was enough to drop him from the 40 percentile in efficiency down to 35.7. There's nothing wrong with that. On a more on a bigger scale in terms of 7.7 attempts per game on Nike EYBL, shooting nearly 52%. That's more reliable. A lot more games played, a lot more attempts as far as a sample size. But we'll see what he does tonight. Again, the game's tips at 9 p.m. Central Time. Gold medal game between Davion Thompson and Team Canada. But here's the other interesting thing: Tay Kenny is the other lead guard who is truly class of 2026. We know he visited Arkansas last fall, ended up committing to Kansas and signing with Kansas. He's been starting the games. Davion Thompson's coming off the bench as a lead guard, but actually playing more minutes and outplaying Kenny. But Kenny suffered an or a lower leg. I won't say ankle. It may be that. I don't know. In this last game against Team Brazil in the semifinals, and was taken off the court, needed help off the court, needed assistance in I think the third quarter, maybe I think it was the third quarter, and Thompson checked in and stayed in the game in terms of the minutes Kenny would have gotten. And so we'll see if Kenny the day after. I mean, I don't know that it's worth risking him if the injury's severe enough, or even if it's not that severe. Just why risk anything further? And if now Davion Thompson, if that means he moves into the starting lineup or at least gets the bulk of the minutes, even if he plays off the bench at the lead guard spot, because he already was playing a few more minutes. But the team's so talented, they got versatile players. It may not impact his minutes or how much he, what the role is, but he has been predominantly the backup lead guard, outplaying the starter who's now hurt. We'll see if Tay Kenny's available, and we'll see what Davion Thompson does to wrap up this event. Because after that, the next big news is his commitment announcement and the information that we expect that he's going to announce he's reclassing. How about a little video highlight, just one play from that win over Team Brazil? Really nifty little drive. And then he set the defender up with, like, it looked like he was going to continue with a hostage dribble, but instead he picked the ball up and he still put the defender as a hostage by using his frame and spreading his legs to keep him pinned behind him. And then he just leaned in for a nice little paint bucket. Really cool stuff. Davion Thompson, aside from a 3-point shooter, good facilitator, good pace on offense as a primary handler, because of his shooting prowess, can be a combo and play off the ball. But I really like his feel as a scorer beyond just shooting threes. So you see him penetrate off the bounce into that soft spot, that soft spot in that defense. And he had an open mid-range shot, but as one defender that he passed tried to recover, he sensed that he took away the potential for a blocked shot, and by playing it the way he did and using that hostage move, it allowed him to regain his balance and move a little closer to the basket off the jump and get a clean shot off. So that's just one of the several nifty plays he's made inside the arc. Watching him every minute of this U18 FIBA AmeriCup down in Leon, Mexico. Calipari got an eye full Monday night. All right, that's it. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet Hoops. I'm your host, Kevin McPherson. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. It helps us out. Turn the notifications on. The roster's not complete. But hype up the content if you like it. Be sure and put comments in after the fact as well. We love the engagement. I interact in there. That helps us out. I hope you had a great weekend. I think great news, big news is coming up. At least one more. We'll see. As Calipari said, a lot of maybes if they had two more. We've gone through all the maybes. Next time, be great in all your endeavors. We appreciate all of you. We'll see you soon.